Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim, and most of most of you know me a little bit, but I'm here offering this the course Finding Freedom Through Boundaries, and also the 6 weeks of live support and accountability, which I'm calling Unbridled Accountability and Support. And I'm here doing this because I believe boundaries are the single most essential life skill there is. And I'm also doing this because I've been where you are, where most of you are. And that doesn't mean, I mean, obviously not specifically because I haven't walked in your shoes, but I know the struggle of digging our way out of unhealthy relationship patterns and coping strategies that may have served us well for survival actually in our childhoods, but that are not serving us so well in our adulthood. And certainly that don't serve us well in our desire to become effective advocates for ourselves and our horses. For myself personally, it took me way too long in my personal journey before anyone opened my eyes to the fact that boundaries are at the core or were at the core of so many of my problems and challenges. And ironically, it wasn't even a person who opened my eyes to this truth. It was a horse named Tempo, and some of you know her. And since then, horses have continued to teach me more about boundaries than any human has. So, this is why my approach to teaching about boundaries incorporates and revolves around horse wisdom. I truly believe that horses are the masters when it comes to the art of the boundary dance. And I'm all about learning from the masters. And I want you guys to learn from the masters too. So, what I want to say to those of you, there's 5 of you enrolled in this 6 weeks package. And by taking this plunge to and commitment to participate in this, you 5 are already separating yourselves from like the whole rest of the pack. Not only do it's a very, very small percentage of people in the world who even like are aware of boundaries, even know that they should be thinking about them or talking about them or exploring them. Like, I mean, literally, like probably, I don't know for sure, but like 90% of the population, right, is walking around with no clue that boundaries even exist or are something that they should be thinking about. So there's that. You're way ahead of that pack. And then even among the other, there's 9 other people currently enrolled in the course as a self-paced course, and then there's you 5 who have enrolled in this package, and you're way ahead of the other pack because those who are doing it as self-paced, based on my previous experience over the years of doing self-paced courses, are a lot less likely to ever finish the course. Some of them may not even ever start the course, even though they've paid for it. And if they do finish it, it's going to take them a lot longer. So in 6 weeks, you're going to be light years ahead of them and have finished this course, which is awesome. But you're also going to have the added feeling of being in a sense of community with this. And most importantly, not just being alone with what I call your mind gremlins, because that's like a horrible place. And boundary work is going to bring up mind gremlins. So this way we have each other and we're going to be part of a community and realize that we all have them and we can support each other through that. So that makes it a lot more fun. Um, let's see. I also wanted to say that this course isn't just another self-help program or course. It's about reconnecting with what I truly believe is the most fundamental and universal truth about our experience of being alive in a body and as a relational being on earth. It's all about boundaries. It's all about where I end and you begin. That is, if it was all just like we're all the same, there would be no experience of being an interconnected world, right? We would just have our own experience in the world. And that's not what life on earth is about. And the rest of the natural world, it relies completely on boundaries as the way of having those interpersonal relationships, right? So this is really essential work, and what you'll be learning in the next 5 weeks after this week won't just help you in your human life. It will absolutely support you in your relationship with the horses and other animals in your life as well. So, as I just said, this live support program is also about community. It's about knowing that you're being supported. This work can be challenging. Um, it's also about knowing that we're going to hold each other accountable to do the work each week, right? And to go through the course materials, and for being honest with ourselves and with one another about how it's going for us. And the reason for that is because going through the motions of learning about boundaries isn't going to be the thing that results in meaningful change in your life. So we're here to get real about it together, and we're also going to have some fun and laugh at ourselves and maybe at each other every now and then, maybe even at the horses. So well, don't shy away from humor in this. It really helps. Taking ourselves too seriously isn't always helpful either. So with that, I'm gonna have you two who are here live introduce yourselves, and I'm really hopeful that the others, I'm not sure if I think right now, I know you two are in the Facebook group. I think Shannon is in the Facebook group. I'm not sure about Colleen or Carol, and I'm not even sure whether Carol is on Facebook. So we may or may not have everybody in the Facebook group. But I think those of you who are, we can make some good use of that. And hopefully, if you're not here live in this meeting, that if you have Facebook, I'd love for you to introduce yourself in the Facebook group. That will be how we can start to get to know each other. But I'd love for both of you to introduce yourselves and maybe just say, knowing that you're not just speaking to us here, but those who aren't here, your name, your location, sort of where you are. I'd love to know whether you're a horse owner or have horses in your life that you are in relationship regularly, partly because as we go forward, or that you have been in relationship in the past with, because we're probably going to share stories. And so the horses are actually going to be part of this community as well. Oh, we've got Colleen coming in here. Let me let her in. Sometimes takes a minute. Here we go. Welcome, Colleen.
Hello.
Hi, awesome. So I've just been doing a little introduction into the course, but I'm recording all of this, so you can go back and watch that beginning part over if you need to. But I'm so glad you're
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah. And we're just about to do introductions, so you're coming in at a perfect time. And I was
Okay.
saying for everyone that we're gonna do, oh, she's got her horse with her. As part of the introductions, I'm going to have you do your name, where you are, whether you're a horse owner or you have special horses in your life, either past, present, that may be part of the storytelling that we tell throughout the course. So they're going to be part of our extended community as well. So love to hear just a little bit about those. And because we're a small group, we can take a few minutes to do that. And then also just a little about why you're here in this program, in the course, and maybe what you hope to get out of it or the live component. So any of that or all of that is welcome in the introduction. And let's go ahead and start. Mary, are you willing to kick us off?
Yep.
Okay. Yay.
I'm Mary. I am from Hartsville, South Carolina. I knew Kim years ago and we reconnected, I guess, when she started Unbridled, and it's been a great journey for me. I have always tried to figure out what was going on in my life, and this has been a wonderful way to do that. Met great people, very welcoming. Always feel safe to talk in this group, and it's a great gift to give yourself and to others. Um, I have had horses in my life since I was a very small person. When I was about 4 or 5, I lived on a farm, and so one of the men that worked on the farm would come and pick me up on Sunday morning with the mules, and I would ride bareback on the mules. So it was always the greatest part of my life just to have that connection. And I have had several falls and have broken my collarbone twice, so I decided to get on the ground for sure. And I guess my real regret is that I never thought about horses as a friend, a teacher. Instead, I was all about let me go riding and let me be outside in nature. And unfortunately, I feel like I missed a lot by not having a greater connection with them. I don't have a horse now, but there's a lady here in town that I have heard about that rescues horses. So I hope I can go out and help her with grooming and chores. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. And if I were closer to Kim, I'd come shouldn't appeal.
Well, and you do come down and visit the herd sometimes. You do. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Is there anything else you want to say about why you decided to join for this cohort?
Um, boundary was boundaries were something I needed terribly. I didn't know what they were. And for that reason, I have been in very unpleasant situations in my life just because I thought it was okay for people to treat me as they did. I had really very little self esteem, and I was always trying to please. And by doing this, I was a doormat often, and um, taking a big step and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I want to stay and do this. I'm not going on that trip has been very hard because people go, oh my God, so friends have kind of backed off, so-called friends. But it's okay. I have gotten a lot from the no's, and I feel better about myself by taking up for myself. And it is very challenging to stay in that mindset, though. I mean, you're still wanting somebody to think you're cool or good or like you, and it's like, who needs that? I mean, I don't need anybody to need me for what I can give them. So,
Yeah.
been a fantastic journey, though it is very challenging at times. Containment boundaries was a new thought process for me after Kim mentioned that in her introduction in the first class, and I think I have some work to do there.
Well, I think we all do. And we will definitely spend some time talking about containment boundaries in the live discussion next week for sure, because I mention it some in the class, but I don't dive into it as deeply as I think we probably all are going to want to. So I definitely, don't worry, we're gonna definitely talk more about that. So thank you, Mary.
Yes.
All right. Shayla.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shayla, and I am in Conway, South Carolina. I did not grow up around horses, do not own horses of my own, but I do work with a lot in the area, just dabbling in lots of different things, farm sitting, a little bit of riding. And then I do have a program where I work with specific horses and kiddos and adults with disabilities. And so that's kind of where I get most of my interactions and relationships with horses. I've done a lot of volunteering with like other therapeutic riding programs. I've been a farmhand, so kind of all over the place. um, yeah. And for this course, I guess because I didn't grow up riding, I do have a little bit more of an appreciation for the relationship aspect with the horses and just, being on the ground with them and just being with them. And so I love that is a thing. And like it's a growing thing for people that only think that horses can be ridden. Um, I think for this course though, I have more boundaries in mind with my relationships that I need to work on. I'm a hardcore people pleaser and codependent, and navigating how to give the best of myself without not giving it to myself has been an interesting journey to maneuver. There's this quote, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, like fully right now, but it talks about how boundaries don't have to be like this giant electric fence. And I think because I'm a person that doesn't like to give a lot of pressure or give a lot of push, that I just kind of shy away from boundaries, but knowing that even in like my quietness and, low pressure self, I can still protect myself and my peace and be okay when others don't abide by those boundaries or have any of their own. Um, yeah, I think those are the major things.
That's great. Thank you, Shayla. Yeah. Yes. So one of the things you'll learn as we go through this course is that the art of having the softer boundaries is actually a more advanced level of boundary work. But there's no reason why someone can't sort of ease through that. But it does take a very centered sense of self-worth and value to be able to stand quietly in that truth. And sometimes for some people, when we've been people pleasers our whole lives and then we're just starting out to set boundaries, a lot of times we don't, the fear is so great about setting the boundary that we don't do it until we get kind of backed in a corner, or that place where we get angry and we kind of lash out. So that's a process, right? But yes, absolutely. The goal is that we get to a place where we don't have to be loud and electric in most of our boundaries at all. Yeah, beautiful. All right, and Colleen.
Hi, Colleen Wilson. I live in Lafayette, Indiana. I train out of a barn in Brookston, Indiana, which is near Purdue University. I run a lesson and training business. I have another young lady that works for me, and we have a large group of 4-Hers, as well as adults who ride for leisure, and a few adults who compete in the quarter horse breed shows. My main reason for joining the class is that I'm really good with my horse boundaries, but I'm not always so good with my human boundaries, or wanting to please, or wanting to, keep adding hours to make it work for everyone else. And so I love what Kim was saying about it's those soft or permeable boundaries that actually are probably the hardest to maintain. And that's where I'm aware of. I originally grew up on the East Coast, so in southern New Jersey, and it was a very, very easy for me to set hard boundaries. In fact, I was taught to, because I was probably more introverted as a child. And so what happens is sometimes when I do set a boundary, it comes off as way too harsh, or causes some disconnect or defense.
Yeah.
So really learning how to be as soft or without being timid, because I think that's the other thing, is I kind of revert to like a small child when I get worried if I've offended someone, versus staying in the discomfort and being able to like work through what's right for everyone.
Yep.
So I think my big thing is finding that softer boundary that doesn't revert me to the childlike state or the fearful state.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful. And what that comes to really is like learning to be comfortable with our own feelings of discomfort if we've made someone uncomfortable, but not being afraid of letting someone else sit in their discomfort too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of have to learn how to sit in ours before and be okay and realize we made it through that, right? And that we are better for it before we can be comfortable with letting somebody else do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we can even sometimes be setting a boundary and still sort of support them in their discomfort in a way, or at least let them know they're okay in their discomfort, and that, even the relationship is still going to be okay, even though this feels uncomfortable for both of us. So those are some of the nuances and some of the things that we're going to be playing with throughout the course. But thank you, Colleen. I'm really glad
Thank
you're
you.
here. And you missed what we said at the beginning, but there are two other women in the course. We have Shannon. I'm not sure how to say her last name. Is it Bosung or Bosung? She's, I think, in West Virginia. And then Carol Rowell, and I honestly can't remember where Carol is from, but Carol had let me know she wasn't going to be able to make this meeting, but she can make the other four. And I'm not sure about Shannon, so I'll have to touch back base with her. But there are two other women, and I think, Colleen, you found your way to the Facebook group. Is that right?
I know at one point I did. I have to admit that the past couple of weeks has been crazy.
That's crazy. Okay, I'll make sure I send that out again to everybody. But for those, and I'm not even sure whether Carol is on Facebook, so it may not be that all five of you are in the Facebook group, but we will use that group for those that are there, because I think it's a great added way to continue to get to know each other and to share some information from the group, but they'll have this recording and they can get in touch with me with any questions they have about this. So now I just want to take a minute and talk a little through kind of what to expect in the course. And one of the things that I want to make sure you guys are aware of, so there's the classroom, the online course module, and you are not the only 5 in that course. So there are, I think, 9 other people currently enrolled in that course. So while most everything that we do in this group and on the Facebook group, everything that we do live and everything we do in the Facebook group will be private among us 5. If you do post comments in the classroom, at the end of each lesson, there's a public comment section. Other people who are in the class will be able to see your comments, and you will be able to see comments from other people who are in the course if they choose to comment there, who are doing it as just self-paced. So another little opportunity, honestly, is that you all might be able to provide a little leadership for some of those who, a lot of times when people are just self-paced and they don't know who else is enrolled, it's really intimidating to like post comments or anything like that. So just kind of nice to know you guys are stepping forward and really moving forward with this, and others might benefit from some of the comments you make there. But I did want to be clear that there are others enrolled as self-paced students in the class, and it's all the same shell of a class. But anything that you do, so there's interactive, and in each module there is an interactive self-assessment survey or questionnaire for each module. No one else can see your results to that. That is completely private. I could see it on the back end if I want to, but nobody else enrolled in the class can see those. And there's also a section in each lesson that has, like, I think it says private comment or private notes. Only you see that. Like, I don't even think I can see those. So nobody else in the class will see anything else you write there. And you have lifelong access to this class. So if you want to make notes in it, if you want to revisit those online questionnaires later, you can go back and revisit them or revise them. It's only the comment section where anybody else is going to see what you write. So wanted to just be clear about that. All right, so we're going to try, we are going to do 1 module a week through this 6 weeks. So each week has a little introductory video. Those are usually less than 10 minutes. That's me just introducing kind of the topic for the week. Then there'll be some kind of supplemental material. Sometimes, like in the first module, it's a chapter from my book. And in future models, it might be a selected reading from somebody else's book, another author. It might be a TEDx talk or someone else's video that I feel like really was impactful for me, and I wanted to share it, that's related and supportive, just so you're getting some other input from other people besides me, other experts. Then, as I said, there's a short self-assessment questionnaire. And Colleen, I know you had done the free self-assessment on my website. And to get that to Mary and Shay. So Mary and Shayla have been working with me for a while, but they haven't done those ones on the website. So I'll put that link in the Facebook group. The ones that are in the course are more fine-tuned to that module. So there might be 1 or 2 questions that might overlap, but then it's going to go a little deeper. And some of them are completely different. So don't think because you did the free ones on my website that the ones in the classroom are going to be the same thing, because they're not. But so there's 1 of those each week, and those are designed to help you understand yourself and your own patterns a little more deeply, right? And then each week there's also, this is really a core piece, there's an experiential practice exercise. And this is what we're going to probably spend a good bit of our time each week talking about in person, about how that went. Or I do encourage you to post in the Facebook group about that as well. So, oh, and then, oops, here comes Carol. All right. Yay. Okay, we'll let her get in here, and then we'll come back to her. Welcome, Carol, though. And so then, in addition to the experiential exercise, there is, at the end of each module, usually it's a horse behavior video clip. Now, in week 1, it's actually not a horse behavior video clip. And week 1's video at the end of the module is the longest one you'll have. Most of the video clips are short. That one is actually an hour and a half. And it is a small group discussion from when I was holding a book club related to and we were discussing each of the lessons in my book. And that was the discussion from the lesson on boundaries. And Mary, actually, you were in that discussion. So Mary, who's in the class, is the star in that video. But so that one will take a little longer. And if you want to, work your way through that one slowly because it is a much longer, not longer one, or you can put it on as like listen to it as a podcast while you're doing farm tours or something. But it was a great discussion. And so I wanted to include it in this. And it will also give you an even larger sense of community because you'll hear some other perspectives on what people are struggling with and what their experiences have been in the world. So I do encourage you to take the time to listen to that one. But I also want you to know that most weeks isn't going to be an hour-and-a-half video to watch. That's the only one that's that long. And if you don't get that done this week, you can plug away at that one as time goes on. The other weeks, you're going to have a horse behavior video that's going to be related to that week's topic. And those are really super fun. And that's when you're really going to see that it's like experiential, even though you're not there with the horses, but you are going to feel the energy of the boundary conversations the horses are having by watching them. And you're going to see the power of the work I do in person with people is a lot of herd observation. And you're going to understand from these video clips why that's so powerful and how we can learn from just watching horses interact with each other. They're so much cleaner and they're so much more pure than we are. And I found it's like really, really hard to find models in the human world of like clean conversations about boundaries, clean examples, because most people are struggling with that. And there's all kinds of other dynamics at play, work hierarchies, family hierarchies, power dynamics that make the conversations a lot less clean. So it's super helpful to see it clean, knowing that that's the goal, right? That's the ideal. That would be the healthy way for this exchange to go. And maybe I can't make it perfect, but at least I know what healthy would be, right? And that helps us not feel so crazy or not question ourselves about, was I okay saying that or doing that, right? So that's the purpose of the horse behavior videos. And for those of you who are in the Facebook group too, if you ever capture videos of horse or other animal interactions that you want to share in the Facebook group, that's awesome, right? Because I think there's so much we can learn from animals about these conversations, even without language, right? That's another whole topic is boundary setting without language. Like we think it all has to be our words, not necessarily, right? There's a lot we can do through body language and behavior. So those are gonna, they're little short video clips, but I promise they're gonna open up a whole lot of fun discussion for us. But I want to go back for a minute to the experiential exercises because those are going to be the hardest part for you guys, and there's going to be a temptation to skip over them or to just breeze through them. And I think that happens a lot when people only do the course as a self-paced because there's nobody holding you accountable for doing it. But and they are going to be a little bit uncomfortable or feel challenging or feel clunky because it's not something that you're used to doing. But I really want you to not skip those. Probably if each week the two most important things would be to watch my introductory video and do the experiential exercise. If you had to only do two in terms of what you would get the most out of, and then the horse, you're going to watch the horse behavior video clips. I know that. So I'm not even going, nobody skips those because they're just fun. But the experiential exercise, that's really the key part of your homework each week and that we're going to talk about. And we may also, if you guys are up for it, we can do some spot coaching where so we're going to have our meeting on Tuesdays, and then you're going to do the content for the next week, right? So we're meeting today, then you're going to do the content for module 1 or the module 1 this coming week. And then we're going to discuss that a little bit at next week's meeting. And then I'll also introduce the following weeks, right? So what we can do next week, if we want to, if any of you want to, is I can spot coach you if you had challenges with the experiential exercise, right? We can talk through that a little bit, or you can just share your experiences with that. But those exercises are going to be what helps you to start shifting the patterns in your life. And as I like to say, excuse my French here, but we can't actually shift our own shit, right? By reading and watching and discussing, about boundaries alone. We really have to practice. And some of the exercises I have may not be exercises that you decide are going to be useful for you going forward, but they're going to open your mind and your thoughts and, oh, this is what that experience was about that I'm supposed to practice, and maybe you'll tweak it or modify it and be able to continue to practice it on your own, if that makes sense. So, Carol, everybody else already went around and introduced themselves. So I'm going to have you do that if you don't mind. And what we did was basically your name, where you are, if you're a horse owner or not. And if so, feel free to share a little bit about one or more horses in your life, because they're going to be part of our community for 6 weeks too. And then a little about why you're here, why you enrolled, and what you're kind of hoping to get out of this experience.
Okay, see if I remember all of that. I'm Carol. I live in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 miles outside Philadelphia. I have a horse who I bought in January. She's an older horse with a few health issues. And I haven't ridden her, but I've been hanging out with her, and this will be good because I'm not good at I have a hard time reading her. And I guess maybe I'm crossing her boundaries, and I don't know how much of it is I'm crossing her boundary, or she just, of course, I'm gonna put some human stuff in there now. She just doesn't like me. and it's like I haven't even expected anything from her except to just hang out and get used to the place, get used to me, and hopefully bond with her. And so far I don't feel that happening. But anyway, I'm probably getting off track here. Yeah, so why am I here? Because I don't know what boundaries are. I read a book that was called Unf Your Boundaries.
Ah.
And actually went, that's a boundary? Really? Huh. And I like that. I think it was in one of the things that you wrote was that or maybe it's something else, because all of a sudden everything boundaries is showing up. But something about if you feel maybe not just angry, uncomfortable, whatever, that person is crossing your boundary. I said, well, there's hardly anybody who can come close to me without me feeling me. So let's see. Yeah, so I was just curious as to what are boundaries and how can I learn what I need to not impose them, but put them up there and not feel bad about it, not feel I'm not being friendly, I'm not being nice, I'm being judgmental, I'm yeah. So and I have one riding lesson a week on a school horse, and her name is Nala, and she's a little pony who dumped me. I was riding a pony because I got dumped in October, and just got back to riding in the second lesson, got dumped off the little pony just like I did off the thoroughbred. And yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
I hope you're okay physically.
Well, it's interesting. From the pony, I got a scraped elbow, and that took a while to heal, but yeah, it's healed. And I bruised my butt muscle, gluteus, and that hurt for a couple of weeks. And I went back, and now I have a handle from Correct Connect. They make a little handle like you put around the horse's neck so that your hands are where they should be for reins. And you kind of hold on to it, but not a death grip, of course. But
yeah.
Anyway, so and that vest and all that other stuff. It just coincidentally, when I fell off in October, I found out I was going into heart failure. So in a way, it was a good thing. But
wow.
And that's why I bought the horse, because I was so depressed after that whole experience and feeling so bad that it's like I already was having problems with my health, and this is just one more thing that's going to limit me. And so I decided to get a horse.
So it's interesting that you decided to get a horse because you were feeling bad about yourself, and Now the
Oh.
horse doesn't really want to connect, right?
Well, well, you know, it's funny because the last time I had a horse was in the 80s, no, sorry, late 80s, early 90s. No, it was throughout the 80s. I had a horse who was a mare who was similar. And someone said, well, that's the way mares are. Oh, well, if that's the case, okay. But I don't buy into any of that. Well, she's a mare. Yeah.
I don't either.
How many times have I heard that before? Anyway, for me. But the horse I had back when, you know, I was still, we were, most people, I don't think anybody was, or very few people were actually trying to connect with the horse and give them choice. And when I learned about that, I was like, oh, I want to do over.
Right.
So, oh, there we go. She looks like Nala.
So Colleen, you've got a friend there. Why don't you introduce your friend?
So this is Orion,
Orion.
and he is a 16-year-old gelding that I actually got to imprint when he was 2 hours after he was born.
Oh, wow.
So he's come a long way. There was a few years that we were separated when I left the barn I worked at before here. But thankfully we've been reunited for about 8 years.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Cool.
Orion. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when he was born, he had 3 circles across his forehead, and it looked like Orion's belt.
Ah.
Oh, wow.
And my horse is Phoebe. Phoebe.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Carol, for that introduction. Yeah, a lot there, and I think there's going to be a lot of aha moments in the class for everybody, but certainly for you. And you missed Mary's introduction, but she said she too kind of wishes she could have a do-over of her early time with horses when it was a different time, right?
It was, yes.
Definitely a
But,
different time.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And we were considered the good people, you know, because we would go to horse shows and see what other people are doing with their horses and just, you know, oh my goodness, they're abusing that animal. No, now that I've been enlightened, so to speak, it's like, oh man, I was objectifying mine. So anyway.
Well, that's still, I think that's a lot of stuff to unlearn, right? We've been taught to objectify horses. We've been taught to objectify people and others. And you know, Carol, that was a really insightful and interesting comment you made about that it is hard for anyone to get close to you without you feeling a little like, right? And
a horse, not necessarily. Animals, okay. I usually approach them or let them approach me, but people, that's another story. People can be mean.
can be mean, right? Can be mean. We've had experiences, we've had traumas, horses have had traumas. So there are, as we get into the course, each week, you're gonna be like, oh wow, there's another layer to it. Oh wow, there's another layer to it. Oh wow, there's another layer to it, right? And part of what I want in having this group is that, you know, we don't get overwhelmed by that. But this is an introductory course. You're going to learn what I think are kind of the most essential 5 key things to understand about boundaries that you're going to learn in the class. And that if you know these and we start working with these in a real way, you're going to be like eons ahead of everybody else on the planet in terms of understanding boundaries. But it's not going to mean you're going to be an expert at them or that you're going to be able to do it all well yet, right? We're going to get our feet wet in this course. And then, you know, at the end, I can give you other resources, other references. There's always the option to continue in one of my other communities if you feel like you want more hands-on support. So I also want you to know that too, that like you don't, it's not like 6 weeks and then
Bye.
high and dry. You know, if you feel like you're still needing some support, there are lots of options for that. And it is really important to be part of a community of other people who are working on boundaries, because you're going to find that a lot of the people in your life that you're trying to work on boundaries with, if they're not also working on boundaries, and it's not this thing where we're like, oh, let's help each other with this process, let's support each other, I honor the work you're doing, it's even harder, right? And so sometimes we need to step back from that interaction and then check in with somebody who's also working on boundaries and say, did I lose my center here? Was I wrong? Am I crazy? Right? Or was that healthy? Or how can I shift my approach to this because it really didn't, it blew up or it didn't work or whatever, right? They didn't hear anything I said and nothing has changed. All of these possibilities. So community is a huge part of it. And it's a beautiful thing to be ahead of the game, ahead of other people in what we're working on, but it also can make things very challenging because it can feel, again, quite isolating when we start working on it. So this is about, having a taste and knowing that this community can move forward in whatever ways after the 6 weeks. So I'll stop there and see what other questions you guys maybe have about the course, about what to expect, about anything. Or did I answer your questions today? Yeah. So Carol, it was probably about 30 minutes before you got on. So I will share this recording and you can go back
Oh.
and
Yeah,
listen.
I want to apologize for that because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it because I have an endoscopy scheduled today. But
Oh.
for some reason, 3:30 is my arrival time, and I went. But I didn't get much sleep yesterday, so I overslept, and here we are. Anyway,
I'm glad you could show up even just for a little bit because I wasn't
yeah,
expecting. You had said you might not make it today. Yeah.
yeah, but I almost didn't, but for a different reason. Okay,
I'm glad you did. Yeah.
video.
Anybody else have questions? How are you feeling going into this? Well, I won't put words in your mouth. How are you feeling? Each of you, maybe if you had. So Mary, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling, I'm looking forward to it. I just think it's a lifelong learning process and, being more comfortable with the boundary setting is very important for me because it does give me a lot of anxiety to tell people no, and I do have like, oh gosh, should I said that? Did I hurt their feelings because it came on too strong? So, I've had experiences with the blow up because I held on too long, and
Mm.
I hated I did that, but it was like, gotta let them have it. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to more practicing and learning from others. I just think it's very healing to talk about it with other people.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Shayla, how are you feeling?
Um, I'd say it feels kind of like not sad to be in this spot, but people that you wouldn't necessarily think that you would even have to, incorporate boundaries with outside of like just natural ones that kind of fall into place. It feels kind of sad, but honestly, it mostly just feels kind of great. just because just because I don't know, I just feel like I've been around very few people lately, and it's been kind of cool to just figure things out on my own without the addition of, their defensiveness or their electric fences. So I think just it's kind of great just thinking about the outcome for me and then how that can translate into other situations and relationships.
Mm. Actually, I really love what you just said there because the foundation that has to happen sort of before we can even get good at boundaries or even know what boundaries we want to have in place is we have to know ourselves well and know how we feel in a situation. And if we're used to other people telling us how we're supposed to feel or expecting how we should feel and never considering how we feel, that can sometimes we do have to like step away and really take some time to ourselves to even try to understand what do I want in this situation or how do I feel. And I know for me, I got used to like thinking how I felt really wasn't that important. So it'd be like, well, I kind of feel like that, but it's not as important as how everybody else feels or all the other parts of the situation. But that's not true, right? Every one of us,
Mhm.
it's important how we feel. So it starts with wanting to know how we ourselves feel and who we are and where we are in this, and then wanting to honor that. So thank you, Shayla. Colleen, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited because I think in some of the other work that I'm doing, I've done a little bit of Byron Katie's worksheets.
Yes.
And so I think what I'm really looking for in the community is that reassurance of, the stories that we tell ourselves and how to identify, like you said, what are those boundaries? What is true?
Yeah.
And then how much of it is like mental fog or old stories or old patterns that are actually established from some other relationship that's no longer even with us, right? That we've brought into this new relationship.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I think for me, it's really getting clear about what's baggage and what's really happening in the present moment.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then from there, being clear about, oh, this is what I used to think, because I think this even, well, this relates probably more to my teaching and my training, but I call it like the old cowgirl on my shoulder. Because the trainers that I grew up with, I was too soft or I waited too long. I didn't do things quickly enough. And
Mhm.
so, especially when I was competing at the national level, it was like, I needed to have the horses done 30, 60, 90 days tops. And the reality is that each horse and each human learns at their own pace and what they're comfortable with and what they've been experienced with. And so I've done a good job when it comes to the animals and my students, but I don't always do a good job when it comes to my familial relationships or my work relationships. So getting clear on those is what I'm excited about, because that's where I think, especially like in our familial, we get so comfortable or so much in the routine of what's got to get done that I want to be clear with my kids when I do set a boundary, that I mean it, but I don't have to be mean or harsh to make it happen. And then at the same time, if I feel guilty about like my work schedule, that I don't allow them to cross boundaries that are inappropriate.
Yes.
So making sure that guilt doesn't play into that, I think, is one of the big things that I'm excited about. And then I love, because this is something that I do for my teaching, is we do a lot of I call being with the herd, so that we can see how the horses interact. And if there are, because there are some, like at least in our herd, there's some that have come from the show horse world that weren't real socialized. And seeing how the horses that have lived in a herd teach them how to be appropriate.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to see how the community can help me to teach me to be appropriate.
Oh, I love that.
Ah.
You just said, and I love that you've done or have doing the Byron Kelly, because you can bring some of those questions maybe even into our discussions and conversations. I know in just a little bit about that, and how her process and work is so beautiful. And yes, there is a world to be learned when watching horses that are well socialized with horses that are not well socialized. And one of the things that is so beautiful about that is that, like, we have all these other agendas and work responsibilities and priorities that have been placed on us, but for horses, it's really just about, we want the community to be functional as quickly as possible and as healthy as possible, and we want each individual to carry their weight, right, to play their role well and take care of themselves while also taking care of the whole. And so they're like, we need to get them to that place as quickly as possible, right? There's no guilt about it. There's no, I'm sorry if they're going to hurt my feelings. They're just like, this is important. And for horses, it's actually a survival level important to them
Hi.
to have
Mhm.
heard in the wild. That is the most important thing. And so they're not apologetic about it at all. Whereas we're always, we're the ones feeling like we have to apologize for wanting to have healthy dynamics. it's really kind of a whole bizarre twist, but yes, again, this is why horses are so beautiful to watch as models. Yeah. And there was something else that Carol, well, anyway, Carol, how are you feeling?
I'm excited and anxious at the same time because there's when I read about boundaries, there's part of me that's like, oh, it's scary, it's scary. And there's part of me that knows that I just say I can't do that or whatever. And I'm hoping that that's not the case. I resonate with everybody in the room right now. A little bit of everyone's experience I've experienced too, and what they want is something I want, and I'm hoping that all works together for us. What was I just thinking? But yeah, I'm excited to learn about these things and not judge myself for them the way my little critic reinterprets everything to the point where I would ruminate and get myself all bent out of shape over, oh my God, what did I just say? What did I just do? Are they mad at me? Are they this? And I'm starting to realize, yeah, I was actually trying to be healthy and everybody else was the ones imposing unhealthy, but socialized, Oh, that's right. My particular horse, when the herd was introduced to her, actually, she had a paddock for, I don't know, like a month by herself. And then they brought in two pony mares, both of which, here's another interesting thing, both of which essentially say, get out of my space to her. And she just goes, okay, and she walks away. And so I don't see much interaction, so it'll be interesting to see on what I'm missing on that. And because I'll go in there and I'll try to protect her. And it's like if she's trying to eat hay and one of the ponies goes, hey, you're not allowed to do that, and starts coming close to her, I'm like, get out of here. And they listen. The ponies go, oh, okay. But as soon as I leave, they're right there going, get out of there. And
Right.
oh, and I'm also one of these. I have signed up for multiple online courses that I get through like the first one or two lectures, and then I kind of life happens and I forget about it. But I love learning stuff, and it's like I still have to figure out why I don't sit and learn even the stuff that's just essentially learning. But I'm a member of Horse Speak Club. I'm in the Equisoma certification course. And that's real. And I think to myself, I can't do this. I just can't. I don't see any of this. And then, which is also probably, I'm rambling again. Anyway, natural lifemanship I've been trained in. So there's all this, and that's just 3 of I don't know how many. Everyone, I think I tried to count them up once. Wendy Murdoch,
Yeah, lots of good stuff there.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, and it is, but do I, and I really want to learn it, and for whatever reason, it's like, oh, it's too late, or oh, I gotta do this first, or
So in this one, we're going to hold you accountable at least for 6 weeks, right?
And that's scary too. Yeah.
That's scary too. Okay. Well, you can do it, right? We're here with you. It's really just a matter of showing up, right? And I can't remember, are you on Facebook, Carol?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I ever got around to that because I'm on my iPad and sometimes it doesn't connect with Facebook without making me log in. So go to the app and remember to look for it. And I'm not sure if I actually was home when I saw that and was able to connect. So I'll have to check that again.
Okay. And I'll do a follow-up email after this, and I'll resend the Facebook link to everybody because a couple of you aren't in there yet. But that's another place where in between meetings we can, keep each other accountable.
And I'm bad at Facebook too because I go down the rabbit hole, so I avoid it mostly.
So that's another type of boundary, right?
Yeah.
to be like, I'm gonna go in and just do this, and then I'm getting out, right?
Yeah,
You
never.
know? Never
I came after. Why am I here again? Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I really, really appreciate all of you being here today. We lost Colleen, but I think she probably needed to hop off. But this recording I will post in the Facebook group. I can also send it via email if if that's helpful to everybody, in case you want to look back at any of this. But
Yeah,
main thing,
the video.
yes. Main thing for this week is to go into module 1 of the course, right? And do as much of that as you can get through. Again, the hour-and-a-half video for module 1, if you don't have time to do that one this week, that would be the one to say, I'll get back to it later. It's an amazing conversation. So if you have time, I would say listen to it, but make sure you get through the other things, because we're going to be talking about those mostly when we connect next week, and it'll be same time and place. And I'll touch base with Shannon and just make sure she's okay, since she didn't show up today, make sure she's getting the information. But I'll see you guys in the classroom, and look forward to it. Look forward to the week ahead.
Yay.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kim.
Bye bye.